Hello. So previously we have added Tom select, and now we can select or create tags using Tom select. So we can add a tag like hot wire, for example, and it will be saved in our database. And now we are going to make some improvements around our application. So we are going to slightly stop on adding new functionality and just see that what we have looks and works well. So let's first have a look at what we've been doing previously. So we've added this Tom select controller, and actually I think it will work without saying on turbulence load. So I will undo this, move it one line back and like this, and it should work just as before. So I'm going to refresh. And actually, we can add some validations for our tags. So now we have only the validation for name presence, and we can also validate something like the length of a tag. So it has to have at least like 2 symbols, for example, and maximum 15 symbols. So now we don't have any. Let's try adding some validation. Let's say validates name, and how do we say? We would say length. And we would say minimum would be, for example, 3 symbols, and maximum would be 15 symbols. Let's see if it works. So I will say attack with 2 symbols. You see it doesn't get saved. And what do we have here? So no template found for text create, rendering no content. Okay, so the tag hasn't been created and we don't render the tag. So makes sense. Of course, there are lots of ways we can make it nice. Like if we go deep, we can actually make it so that we would render some kind of error message that the tag doesn't have enough symbols or so on. But we're not going to do that now. Anyway, we've added some basic validation. Well, what do we want to have? Let's make it maximum 15, minimum will be 2, for example. Okay, looks good. What do we want to do next? So let's first save our changes. I'll say git status, git add all, git commit main, tag, so tags in stimulus without turbulence load, and tag validation. Okay, looks good. And here we actually have a pull request. So using pull request is generally a good approach to working on your code and seeing all your changes you've done to a specific feature and letting others comment and view your code before it is pushed to production, to your main branch. So looks quite good. And I think we can merge it with our main branch. So I'm going to say squash and merge. Okay, done. And now I will go to our main branch, git checkout main, and say git pull. And we're going to pull our changes to the main branch. Okay, done. Looks fine. So git status. Okay, and now let's actually work on our Ruby code quality. So there is such a thing as the Ruby style guide. Ruby style guide. And basically it has a big list of best practices on what is considered good code and what is considered bad code. So you see it is really big. And just as some examples, so in the Ruby you're expected to have not 4 spaces but 2 spaces, and there are lots and lots of such examples. Like you are expected to have some space between operators and so on. And now, how do we know that our application adheres to this Ruby style guide? How can we know that it is easily readable to all other Ruby developers? Well, there are some tools that can statically analyze your code and say what is good and what is bad. And I think the most popular of them is Rubocop. So actually he has a link to Rubocop, and we can install this static code analysis into our application and see what errors or warnings it would give us. So here is Rubocop, and it actually also has a separate gem named Rubocop Rails. Let's find it. Yeah, here it is, Rubocop Rails. So we will install this gem and see how it works. So I'm gonna add the gem to our gem file. Now we are going to add it not just anywhere, but we are going to add it inside the group development and test. We clearly don't need it in production. Okay, bundle. And next we're going to create a file named rubocop.yml in the root folder of our application. So I will say echo Rubocop YML. Here we've created Rubocop YML, and now we need to initialize Rubocop. So we will say require Rubocop Rails, just Rubocop Rails for the moment. And now we can run bundle exec Rubocop. Let's see. And yeah, it says there is a big list of offenses and some of them are autocorrectable. Now, there are some offenses that we will correct straight away. These are style frozen string literals. Basically, on top of each file, it wants to say frozen string literals true. Let's actually have a separate branch for Rubocop. So I'll say git checkout branch Rubocop styling. Okay. And I will start fixing the errors. Now I will run. No, actually, before we fix the errors, there are some files where I don't want to run Rubocop. So for example, inside the DB folder, you see we run Rubocop for the code style of different things that were like automatically generated. And we will always have to rerun Rubocop on them, like on all our migrations, for example. They were automatically generated. And well, the code style is the Rails code style, but not the Rubocop. And these are different code styles, we can say. Again, code style is always opinionated and it cannot be the same. And even here, we're not going to use exactly all the Rubocop options. We're going to use Rubocop in some places where we want and not use some Rubocop cops, so like some Rubocop options that are offered. For example, we're not going to use this style documentation. Now it says that it would like us to have a comment on top of each of our migrations and each of our models. I'm going to disable the scope. So I will say style documentation enabled false. We are not going to run the scope. And now again, I type bundle exec Rubocop and we should have fewer errors because we are not running this specific cop. So let's see, okay, 316 offenses. And again, we have the DB folder. We don't want to run the Rubocop on the DB folder. So I will say something like all cops. And I will say, yeah, actually I'll also set a target Ruby version. So we're running 3.0.1. So target Ruby version will be 3.0.1. And I will also say exclude. So I will exclude the DB folder. It will be, so we have our application, we have DB, and inside DB we have folders and files. Let's see if it gets excluded. We had 354. How many do we have now? Still running. So 391. Okay, but we didn't run Rubocop on our DB. And you see we have Rubocop running on our config. So you see on all these auto-generated files. Now, I didn't do any changes in our puma.rb and in many config files. In the initialize, again, it's just the way we set up external gems. So I don't want to run Rubocop on our config. I would say something like config and ///. So we'll not run Rubocop on our config folder. Now you can also say that you don't want to actually run Rubocop on config like environments or initializers, but you do want to run it on routes, for example. But again, it's your preference. And you see we have fewer offenses. Okay, now let's have a look. So some of them we do want to fix and some we don't. And you see, again, we have this bin folder. We don't want to run Rubocop on the bin folder. So again, I will exclude it. So I say bin, and I think we have only one level underneath. Yeah, so we're not running Rubocop on the bin folder. Okay, so 199 offenses left. And let's see. So again, we have this config.ru that is in the root of our application. Do we want to run Rubocop on it or not? I actually wouldn't be doing it. I really prefer running Rubocop on files inside our app folder because these are actual files that we always work on and edit. So I will not run it on config.ru. Again, I type bundle execute Rubocop. We had 199. And it should be like 198, I guess now. Okay, 197. Okay, so we are running on all our tests. We're running on our app models, looks good. We are running our helpers on our controllers. Okay, looks good. So we have decided on which files and folders we do not want to run Rubocop. Now, there are also some additional cops I don't want to run. So one of them is bundler order gems. So bundler order gems. Basically, I don't want to put the gems in an alphabetical order because, well, I prefer them being in the gems that were added initially, then the gems that I've added later on. So I'm not going to run the scope. I will say that it is enabled false. And there's another code that I do not want to run is empty method. Now, what is it? Here, for example, we have our static public controller. And the Rubocop says that it will prefer it to look like this if we don't have anything inside the method. But in the end, we usually always add something inside, and I don't like this kind of syntax. So I'm not going to run this specific cop. I will say style empty method and enabled false. Now again, I type bundle execute Rubocop, and we should have also fewer cops to run. Okay, 186. Okay, and just one more that I will disable for Rubocop is unused method argument. Let's see if it's visible here. No, it's not. So basically, unused method argument would go, for example, to our application controller and put an underscore here. And well, I don't like these underscores, and they can actually potentially, I don't know, maybe break our application. So the cop's name is lint slash unused method argument. And for this one, I will also say enabled false. Okay, now I run bundle execute Rubocop. And let's see what it gives us. So 185 offenses, and you see 168 are correctable, auto-correctable. So we can actually auto-correct them. Let's first type git status, and I will say git add. Now, what have we changed in our gem file? Okay, git add all, git commit main, install Rubocop. Okay, and now we can actually do some autocorrection. So for this, I will say git bundle execute Rubocop and soft autocorrect. Now, small letter A is soft autocorrect. Let's run it. And again, the static code analysis tool is going through all our files and also actually doing some changes. So it will try to improve the code style and in some places where it can. Okay, so you see some have been corrected. Now 158 have been corrected. That's a lot. Let's type bundle execute Rubocop and see how many offenses are left. And then we can actually see what has been auto-corrected just now. Okay, you see only 59 offenses are left and 43 are auto-correctable, but they need to be run with a capital letter A, possibly. Okay, you see we have this frozen shell literal. Well, we'll come back to it later. Anyway, let's type git status, and you see we have done so many changes in so many files. So we have our files, and you see here an end has been placed in a different place. Here we've added a space after a guard clause, and well, we would go to any of these files, and you see it just does some minor or not so minor improvements in the code style. So here, for example, instead of having these square braces and having these signs inside, so it offers a way to have symbols in an easier to write way. Then here, instead of using unless user equals, we use this pipes and so on. Or let's, for example, go to our post.rb, and here you see actually a lot of changes. So use, and again this collection. Then if we have a number, then we have underscores after thousands so that it is easier for us to read. And here again, instead of the space, we have the braces. Here we've removed the redundant self, but we still have self where it is not redundant. So you see a lot of small styling. Also, like where we have operators, we've added spaces. So Rubocop actually does a lot of work on just automatically improving our code. Let's say git add all, git commit main, Rubocop autocorrect. Okay, and again, let's say bundle execute Rubocop and have a look at what is left to do. Okay, so here we have the style frozen shell literal comment. Let's automatically fix this one thing around our files. Now, it couldn't be fixed with the small letter a, so we'll do it for the big letter A, only this specific cop. Let's fix it. Okay, it says corrected, git status, and we'll go to any of these files, and you see we've added this frozen string literal true. Okay, and we can actually also run bundle execute Rubocop, and we are going to have another error. It is that after this frozen string literal, we need to have an additional space. Now let's see. Okay, layout, empty line after magic comment. So we need to have an empty line after style frozen string literal comment. Okay, let's run this one. Okay, now again, I run bundle execute Rubocop, and we should have quite few things left to actually correct. Now, some things can be auto-corrected by Rubocop, but in some cases, you definitely need like a human input to make some decisions. Okay, some still auto-correctable. Let's auto-correct them. So, for example, here we have Rails time zone. Instead of time at, we would use something like time zone now, for example, or time.zone.at. So I'll also autocorrect that one. Then this style, class, and module children in our registrations controller, for example. Let's go to our controllers, users, registrations controller. So here we have class users, registration controller. And it would suggest us to have module users like this and have the class inside. So I will do like this, write an end statement here. And let's see, we still have this problem. Okay, 35 offenses. Okay, and here we have lots of these trailing white spaces. So let's also fix them in the registrations controller. Okay, here we have this trailing white spaces that I have just basically added. Again, bundle execute Rubocop soft autocorrect. I wonder if soft autocorrect will fix these white spaces. Okay, bundle execute Rubocop. And there'll be quite a few things left. Okay, so 23 offenses and 7 of them are autocorrectable. Now let's have a look at what is not autocorrectable. For example, dependent options. Now, basically, Rubocop doesn't know what you want to do with a tagging if a post was destroyed or if a tag was destroyed. And we'll have to specify this. So we will go to our models. So going to models, post.rb, and yeah, let's reload. And let's specify a dependent option. So has many taggings, dependent, destroy. So if we destroy a post, we are going to destroy like the tagging that joins the post and the tag. And we're going to do the same for our tags. So has many taggings, dependent, destroy. Let's rerun Rubocop. And we had 23. Now expect us to have 21 error left. Okay, 21 left. And yeah, so also we can specify a dependent strategy for our users has many invitees. Now we definitely don't want to delete all the dependent users if a user deletes his account. So we'll have something like has many invitees, dependent nullify. Now if I say nullify, then all the users that have invited by ID and whose user inviter was deleted will just have this set to nil. So if somebody was invited by me and I delete my account, just his invited by ID will be set to nil. Okay, now we should have around just 20 offenses. That is really little. Okay, 20 offenses. And here we have this inverse of option. So let's try going to our post.rb. And here we have has many comments as commentable, dependent, destroy, inverse of, let's say, I think commentable. So has many comments, inverse as commentable, inverse of commentable. Something like this. Okay, and I think that actually inside our comment RB, in our belongs to, we can also specify something. So inverse of comments, I guess, or inverse of comment. Let's see. Let's try creating a new comment and see if it breaks anything. So I'm going to go to, I guess, create a new post. Yeah, I'm compiling the application. Okay, a title, a description, a body, create post. Now add in a comment, and I will add the child of this comment and a child of that comment. And most likely, if I did everything correct, nothing should at least be broken from my inverse of updates. Okay, seems to be fine. And what if I say inverse of comment, for example? I will try to refresh, press reply, and here you see, could not find the inverse association. So yeah, this should have been correct. Okay, again, I'm running bundle execute Rubocop. I guess we should have around 19 errors left. And actually, some of them we are not going to fix right away. So what do we still have? So we're not going to fix inverse of for our user has many invitees now. Then we have user.rb, matrix ABC size, line 18. Let's have a look. So it says that on line 18, we have something that is too complex. Well, actually, we can simplify it a bit. I'll just move this inside here and like this. So already less syntax used, but I think we still will have the same error. Again, I type bundle execute Rubocop. Okay, so we still have this error, but anyway, we can focus on it later. It's not something critical. Then in application cable, it's not something I want to fix, especially in the test folder because it was auto-generated. Then inside our application helper, Markdown has too many lines. I'm also fine with that. Then Rails output inside our webhooks controller. Actually, I will disable this one. So I will say Rails output enabled false. Then again, some cases where we might want to refactor or might not want to refactor. For example, inside our webhooks controller create action, it really is long. So you see we have all these options, all this logic inside our webhooks create. And we might want to maybe move it into smaller pieces, into a model or something, but we're not going to work on this in the near future. Then style class and module children. Yeah, we can actually fix these. So auto fix only the scope. So let's go to one of these controllers. For example, OmniAuth callbacks controller or confirmations controller, going to users. And here you see all of them were put inside modules. So it's kind of a better, more correct way to write code. Instead of saying class users confirmations controller, we have module users class confirmations controller. Okay, how many errors do we still have left? Okay, so 24 offenses and 12 of them are autocorrectable. So layout indentation looks fine. Use 2 spaces, not 0 spaces in OmniAuth callbacks controller. Okay, let's autocorrect them. I think they were created by us running the other Rubocop command. So you see, we ran one Rubocop command to remove some errors, but some new ones were created. Again, bundle execute Rubocop. Okay, 13 offenses and just one is autocorrectable. Now, I think we can save our changes. Let's say git status, git add all, git commit main, Rubocop. Okay, and let's have a look again at what is still left. We can actually maybe not fix it all at the moment. Again, I don't want to fix some of the files. Some of the files can be refactored later on. Here we have, for example, pass unit amount as an argument to sort by. Let's have a look at it. So we'll go to our static public controller. And let's see what will happen if we autocorrect it. There's our static public controller. Okay, so you see the stone has changed. And well, Rubocop has edited this method quite a lot, but now it must be more readable and digestible. Okay, so how many errors do we still have left? 12 offenses still detected. Okay, we're not going to fix the ones in user B. Then HTML safe is going to stay inside the application helper markdown. Then method line length for markdown is okay. Then we're not going to do anything inside the webhooks controller. And we're not going to change anything inside users omni-out callbacks controller. Now, text controller can actually be refactored. Anyway, we'll do it later. And too many lines inside our create checkout. So I guess we've actually done some good work, and let's just disable these Rubocop errors for now. So I would say Rubocop autocorrect, and I would say disable uncorrectable. Okay. Okay. And let's see what this does. So basically, if we go to our user RP, for example, it will say that there is a to-do. Let's have a look. Go into modals, user RB, and here you see in some places it was said that there is a to-do, and it's good. Actually, we can also remove this code because we're not using it anymore. So just like that, we have made it so that our application adheres to the Ruby style guide in most places, and in some places we have a to-do comment. And now we can actually add a Rubocop badge to our application, to the README. So we can add such a badge. We'll go to our README and add it here. Let's first save our changes. So git add all, git commit main, Rubocop to-do. And now we will add the badge, and it should be visible to anybody who sees the repository that we are trying to adhere to the Rails, to the Ruby style guide. So I think, yeah, looks nice. Let's save our changes with the README, git add all, git commit main, Rubocop badge in README. Okay, and I will also look at a couple of issues that have been opened inside the repository. But before this, let's actually have a look at all the changes that are done. It's actually really, really interesting. I'll say git push. I will push this branch to our GitHub. And based on the branch, I will create a pull request. So here we have our branch, and I will create a pull request. And let's have a look at it. So you see 38 files have been changed. That's a lot. Let's have a quick look at what has been changed. So Rubocop YML settings makes sense. Gem file, again, gem file. So we've added the badge, and here. So by default, we had the double braces, and it was changed to single braces, frozen literal true, and the space. Then here, for example, the braces were opened here, and everything inside was moved to many spaces here. So again, it's according to the style guide. Same here. Then we've added spaces after curly braces. Then the spacing inside our controllers, whatever. Again, double braces were changed to singular. Oh, let's see. So actually, this is interesting. Before we had the 3 lines, and now we have 1 line here. So it was actually some nice code refactoring on the side of Rubocop. Here, it made the method not so long. here it is as a to-do. Here we moved it into a module users. So quite a lot of changes. And generally, our code must become more readable, and it is a good practice commercially to use Rubocop or a similar static code analysis tool to adhere to the Rails style guide. And here's another really interesting case. So here you see we had the yield, and instead of using yield, we use and block. So you see, this is quite sophisticated code improvements. And in some cases, you would want to double check whether it works. And again, before you do some kind of automatic code changes, it's also great to have a testing suite and tests running in your application so that you see that your refactoring doesn't break your application. Anyway, it is it with Rubocop for now. So let's merge this into our base branch. So we're going to merge this pull request from Rubocop styling to main. Okay, I will say squash and merge, meaning it will be all merged as one single commit. Okay, we can delete the branch. And let's see, I will go to main, git checkout main, and git pull. And all the changes should be available. Okay, looks nice. Okay, now actually another thing that we can do, if we go to our comments controller. So previously we've said that we want to merge user as current user inside the comment params, but there's another way we can do it. We can actually do it right here in the comment params. So we would say merge user as current user. And it should work just as before, but it will be for everywhere where we use comment params. Of course, now there is just one case, but there might be more cases, and we would have the current user set as user in all the comment params. So again, you can decide whether you want it just on create or on comment params, but this is just another option, and I will leave this option for now. And one more thing I would like to do is actually install another gem for improving the code quality named Traceroute. So I would say GitHub Traceroute. Here's the gem, and basically it helps us find the controllers without roots and roots without controllers. So let's try to install the gem and see how it works. So I would first say git status, git add all, git commit main, set current user for comment in strong params. Okay, and now I would go to the gem file and add this gem traceroute. Actually, I would add it inside the development environment only. So gem traceroute bundle. And how do we run it? Let's say rake traceroute. Okay, and here we have unreachable routes and unreachable action methods. Now, for now, we are not using action mailbox, so we can disregard it. We can actually tell the gem that we want to disregard it. We can create a settings file like, let's say, traceroute.yml. So I will say echo traceroute.yml. And here inside, I will say what I want to ignore. So I want to ignore these unused routes. Like this. Let me run rake traceroute once again. And we still have unused routes through Rails conduct action mailbox. Okay, because I deleted it. Let's try once again, rake traceroute. Okay, these are not anymore in our unused routes. Let's have a look at our unreachable action methods. So we have device, for example. Now, we don't need device here, so we will disregard it. I will disregard device, rake traceroute. And now we have unused routes device. So I will also add device here. So again, there are some defaults that we just don't want to have here. And the same will be with device invitable. So it is in unreachable action methods. Ignore device invitable. So now we're basically making just the default setup that we want to use for this gem. And here we have actually some interesting cases. So users, omniauth callbacks, failure, and handle or auth. They are unreachable, so they can be set as private, I guess. So private. And it should work just as before, because we reach them from Google Auth or GitHub. So we go to handle auth. Okay, let's run rake traceroute once again. And we have our application after sign-in path. So we'll go to our application controller, and here I will also add private. Just like this. And of course, it would make sense for you to check if it works. So if you can log in with a social account, and if you would be redirected to your page as you've added this to private methods. But I think it should still work. So I will just log out and log in once again and see if it works. So going to log in, sign in with GitHub. I should sign in and I should be redirected to my page. Okay, so it works. And this is basically a small example of some improvements that you can add and some like bugs that you can notice by adding this gem traceroutes. Basically, I found two places where I could move our actions into private methods, but moreover, if the application is big, you can find something that you can disable in your controllers or inside your routes. For example, here we have, if we run rail traceroute, it will notice that we have our comments controller, but comments create, new, and destroy are not available. So inside our comments controller, we have new, create, and destroy, but they are not available here. But we know that we are using them nested, so that's why we still want to have them. And this is just an example of what this gem can catch. So it's just another good gem that you can install to ensure that you are not missing anything and you're not having any redundancies in your code. And that's basically it for now. So what we've done actually quite a lot of improvements on code quality in this episode. So thanks for being with me and have fun writing beautiful code. Cheers.